Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Courtney.
We are AZ Digital Nomads. We've been traveling around the US for over 2 years and love sharing our experiences with others.
We're currently staying in Seattle, and one of our main motivators was we wanted to book an Alaskan cruise. Kevin's been on cruises before, but this was my first one. In this video, we'll go into some detail about our cruise experience and excursions, including amazing glacier helicopter ride and hike. Hey honey, remind me why we chose this specific cruise.
We landed on the Princess Cruise that is 7 nights in the Inward Passage, and we did a lot of research with Royal Caribbean and Holland and a few other options where we wanted a good mix of like cruising, but also the excursions and things like that. Well, there is whale watching, right? And
whale watching was important.
And we were really trying like northern lights, but it was pretty cloudy the entire time. So
yep, no northern lights. We were disappointed.
Not so much that. We looked at land cruises, whatever they're called, and a lot of those were 10, 11, 12 days. We figured out that one of them had a train ride from Fairbanks to Anchorage that was 11 hours, so maybe a bit much.
It was a good introduction to Alaska.
Yeah.
And we would definitely go back and do a land-only tour to see more of Alaska.
Yeah. And so, starting from the beginning, we did choose cruise terminal parking. Think that was a good idea?
I do. It was actually really easy. We were confident that we had somewhere to park the car. It was safe. And we were shuttled over to the cruise line itself. All the employees were super helpful. We even got somebody on our shuttle that actually worked for the cruise line, and he took our baggage for us.
Yeah, and it was kind of expensive, at $200 or $250 or something, but the other options were either an Uber for 4 people and all of our bags, or and I don't think there was much public transportation around there either. And then packing, so there's a lot of layering. I think the highs were like mid-50s, lows right around there.
When the sun was out, it felt really good, and you didn't want to have too much on, but as soon as it tucked behind the clouds, or it rained a little bit, it was chilly, so the layering was important. We actually did a little bit of research and brought Scotch Guard, and we Scotch Guarded shoes and pants and hats and jackets and stuff, so that way if it was drizzly, we didn't get soaked through, and that turned out to be a really good decision. Yeah,
and it didn't rain a whole lot. There's one day in Ketchikan that we needed our umbrella the entire time walking around, but besides that, it worked out really well. And then the Premier package, so it comes with a drink package.
We felt obligated.
Yeah, you get 15 drinks a day each, so between the 4 of us, we have 60 drinks a day.
Okay, let's clarify. We didn't actually have 60 drinks a day.
We tried, but no, we failed. And then it does come with unlimited casual dining, which is pretty similar, probably food quality-wise, to the buffet, but just it's a sit-down environment versus the buffet option, which everybody gets. And then 2 specialty dinners, and that's where the great food was at.
For sure. The specialty dinners were definitely worth it in the drink or Premier package. But also the Premier package offered us the option of unlimited desserts, which we failed miserably eating as many desserts as we should have also. But it also gets us the really yummy coffees. So I am definitely a morning coffee person, so that was very important to me, which meant it was important to everybody else that we were cruising with.
Yeah, and we did a lot of research on that, and there's all kinds of stuff online about are those packages worth it? There's a lot of little perks like the desserts, and are you going to have a premier dessert every day? But I think overall we got a good bang for our buck with it, though.
Yeah, and we also got the option for VIP seating in any of the shows.
Yeah, then the other big decision was the balcony or not. I had been on one cruise before where probably could have fit 4 people around the table. It was a little more spread out. And I love being able to, wake up in the morning, go out on the balcony a little bit. With the rain and the cooler weather, and our balcony was very small. So in hindsight, maybe 50-50 on this cruise, but overall we really enjoyed it.
It was really nice to open up the sliding glass door and have the fresh air and the sound. Sleeping was better for sure because of that experience.
Yes. Princess does a good job of keeping you busy.
We did actually on our first night. We definitely indulged our first night. We had several drinks, and I wanted chicken nuggets from the buffet bar, which was a lot of fun. But we had chicken nuggets while we watched a comedy show.
And then we did a rock opera the last night. There's all kinds of like trivia, bingo. We did a Friends trivia thing that I sucked at because we've only watched like one season at that time. We also travel with Dominoes and Phase 10 and 5 Crowns in a little pack. So oftentimes we would just plop down on one of the decks and
entertain ourselves.
Yeah, entertain ourselves. And, as long as like Dave doesn't win, right? But Dave
always
wins. And while you're going around the cruise ship, the Princess app was very useful. You could actually order food, drinks, extra pillows, whatever you needed from the app, and they'll actually come and find you. You can set it to bring stuff to your room or bring stuff to wherever, just your current location on the ship, and it GPSs them to your location.
Sometimes they were really, really good about it, and drinks or food came pretty quickly, and other times there was quite a delay, and the drinks, if they were hot, maybe only lukewarm.
Yeah, the last night, I think with them collecting luggage and everything, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, retrospectively, we probably would have not had drinks delivered to our stateroom the last night.
Yeah, at some point Dave and I walked up and got drinks, came back down, and then later they delivered watered down drinks. I think it took him a few attempts to get something as simple as like vodka and Sprite.
Ironically, I think that was the night that we all came as close as we ever did to having our 15 drinks a day.
Probably. And as far as eating, so as we mentioned, like everyone gets access to the buffet, and it was pretty good. Like they had a lot of options. It's kind of steered towards like seafood and the Indian food, and I mean anything that you really want. I mean breakfast, lunch, dinner wise.
Yeah, buffet was really nice in the sense that you could kind of go up any time and like find something to eat somewhere. So if your schedule was a little off or whatever the case may be, you're just snacky or munchy in between, there's always something to be found.
Yeah, we usually didn't eat at the buffet. We usually try to find quiet places on the ship, which is sometimes hard, but there are little corners here and there that we eat and play cards and whatnot.
Only for Dave to always
win. And then, as we mentioned, casual dining was just a nice restaurant style version of that. Basically, it felt like the quality of food was about the same. And then we did 2 specialty dining nights. I think that first one that we did was like one of the best steaks I've ever had.
Oh, that steak was like butter.
Yeah, and then you have lobster?
No, I had a whitefish that night. But it was perfectly cooked, and everything was very well seasoned and delicious.
And then there's, as far as other stuff to do, one reason we chose the Princess cruise was they had like mini golf and basketball, but we also found out once we got there, they were on the top deck. And so when you have a 30-mile-an-hour headwind, it's not as comfortable when it's 50 degrees outside. And mini golf was more of a putting green. So you had, I think, 3 holes within a very small area.
It was kind of nice to go up there and take a loop around the top deck, though. It was really pretty.
Yep. Anything else on the ship that we're missing?
They had a lot of activities. They had the activities director, and like down on the main floors, they would do little fashion shows, and they would do dance classes, and the live music in the different restaurants or little pubs, we actually found to be really good. We enjoyed kind of tracking down a couple of favorites and watching them.
Yeah, and the Irish pub, the O'Malley's?
Yes.
I think that was really good.
In the live music, the couple that did the live music there was also really quite entertaining. Excursions are always a hot topic when choosing a cruise and choosing what you want to do while you're on your cruise. So let's chat through some of the excursions that we took, with our first stop being in Juneau.
We purchased a whale watching and salmon bake excursion for Juneau. We had done some research online about general tours and things that were offered, and ended up purchasing through Princess. The whale watching tour was phenomenal. The tour guides were all great. We missed the one full breach of a whale, but we saw the splash at the end.
A lot of whale tail.
Yeah, a lot of whale tail.
So we always recommend to do your research and see if perhaps there's an option to book a similar cruise or a similar excursion that your cruise line is offering, but outside of the cruise line. You always have to make sure you do your research and ensure that your tour doesn't leave before or after you port. But you can get some better tour options, less people, a lot of times less money.
We found one that had only 12 people per ship.
Yeah.
And it was, I want to say, at least $50 cheaper than what the cruise line was offering, but it wouldn't have gotten back in time, or like just pretty tight without when the ship was leaving.
And we've heard multiple times that the ship will leave you.
Yep. So yeah, the tour itself was great. They knew exactly where to go. We have done one other whale watching tour in San Diego, and one thing we learned there was they all communicate with each other. So there are several boats that go out, and they're all communicating on where to go, and if they see whales and so forth. So we went to a place with 20 other boats around, I think.
Yep.
And there were at least 20, 30, even 40 whales.
What I didn't know, though, was there's time limits and distance requirements that you have to stay a certain distance away from the whales, and you can only circle or stay around the whales and watch them for a specific amount of time. They don't want the whales to feel endangered.
And there were, I would say, 25 or 30 people on our boat, but it really didn't seem crowded at all. They did have a back deck area.
Yep.
And it really wasn't difficult to get lots of video and get a front row view. And then after the whale watching, they took us for a salmon bake, and it was delicious, very well organized. Only took a few minutes to get through line. It was outdoors.
There's a little hike that we can go to see some waterfalls nearby, and they offer drinks and different little desserts and things.
Yep. Those two things pretty much filled up our day in Juneau. After we got there, because we left the ship and immediately took a wrong turn and walked about a half a mile down the road the wrong way. But we did see bald eagles.
I was going to say, we did see a bald eagle, so the walk wasn't for nothing.
And then our next excursion was Skagway. This one, I would say we probably had mixed feelings on.
No, I never had mixed feelings on this one.
Well, my feelings were mixed with your feelings.
Fair.
So, reading reviews, everybody raved. You would just expect like some bad review out there saying it was cold or it was rainy or whatever. But everybody 5 stars, it was amazing. And so we took the chance and spent the money on it. It's pricey, but you don't plan on eating for a month after the cruise anyway, so I mean it's no more than like a trip to Costco, I guess, for a month. And it really was amazing.
So the Glacier helicopter ride was absolutely phenomenal. There were so many highly rated reviews. I don't think there was anything less than 5 stars out there anywhere. Would you do it again?
100%. First thinking about the glacier hike, I thought, well, there's a novelty of just you're standing on a glacier, right? And what else is there to do? You'll just be on a glacier for a while, and the helicopter ride would be cool. But I did not know of all the features of a glacier. You're kind of standing on clear ice, and at times you have these crevices and stuff that make it look like you're close to just falling through. There are rocks and stuff that fall onto the glacier, and then the sun hits them, and then it makes these huge canyons in the glacier.
And then the canyons inside the glacier have like a life of their own. They have like little waterfalls in them. They become their own environment.
and the water is like super crystal clear. I think we were out there for 45 minutes or so, like walking the glacier most of that time. Couldn't recommend it anymore. Everybody thought it was absolutely worth every penny, even if it's a lot of pennies.
There's a lot of pennies. A lot of pennies that I have no problem passing along. Right, we should talk about beer.
So Skagway, we went to a brothel, or a previous brothel. I don't think it's
No, it's not
currently a brothel.
We could do a brothel tour.
Yeah. And the drinks were very good there. But then we went to Skagway Brewing, and it was pretty amazing. Like, the beer was really good. I'm maybe not the biggest IPA fan in the world, but I've had my share of really, really great IPAs, and that was one of them.
On to Glacier National Park. So this was a day actually spent on the cruise ship touring Glacier National Park. And after all of the information that we learned about glaciers during our helicopter ride, we got to learn additional information. They had a park guide come on the ship and announce different items as we were passing by the different glaciers. The captain of the ship was pretty phenomenal about making sure that all of the passengers saw all the different glaciers and would circle and spin the ship and do all these very lovely things, even though we didn't really feel that it was like happening at all. It was very smooth.
Yeah, we saw a lot of nature. We saw what they call glacier calving. Large chunk of glacier falls off. Yeah, it was just a nice, relaxing day. We spent quite a bit of time towards the back of the ship, where it's partially covered and kind of protected from the wind. Just watching the glaciers go by. And then our second to last stop was Ketchikan. We didn't actually book any excursions for Ketchikan. There was nearby hiking that we were considering, and they also had excursions for like
Beer tours.
Yeah, beer tours that we figured we would do on our own. It was raining the entire time we were there, so we decided not to hike. We mostly just went and grabbed a couple drinks from a couple places and called it a day. That was one that we were leaving at 1 o'clock, I believe, to head back towards Seattle, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to spend there anyway. And then our last stop was Victoria, British Columbia. We think there's a Canadian law that says if you sail through Canadian waters, you have to stop at a Canadian port. But everyone we had talked to said like nothing's open. We got there at 9 p.m. and it leaves at 1 a.m. And so we just stayed on the ship and played cards and waited for our watered down drinks to get there.
And that was the conclusion of our excursions for our cruise.
And so would you do it again?
I would do it again 100% if we just figure out how to conquer my motion sickness.
It was a little rough heading out. I think that first night was, I think you were good, right? And then it was kind of the next day, an open sea.
Yeah.
And then once we were in the inward passage and then through like Glacier Bay and stuff, things had settled down. It was definitely rougher that first full day than I experienced like in the previous cruise.
Would you do it again?
I would. Maybe not that one exact cruise, but I would do everything again.
Maybe let's go somewhere warmer next time.
All right, it's a deal.
All right.
Until we meet again during our traveling adventures.
Bye for now from AZ Digital Nomads.